School in Sports here, bringing you another free agency roundup with all the trades, franchise tags, all that kind of stuff. I have recorded this video. This will be my third time now. Yesterday I tried recording twice. One of them, trash bag in my house caught on fire almost, and then the second one I got all the way to uploading, and it was uploaded on YouTube, and the quality wasn't as good as it usually is, so I took it off right away. And as I tried to re-upload it, our internet went out and it deleted my whole file and restarted my PC. So back to you guys, bringing you just, I would have, like I said, I would have liked to give you every day, but I was moving out of my apartment. We didn't have internet for a couple days, but here we are. I'm just going to give you my team grades, what signings I like, what signings I don't like. And then in another video, I want to talk about my mock draft 2.0, like post free agency, and then some landing spots for the remaining free agents in another video. So the Arizona Cardinals, I don't disagree with one signing they did, and they didn't really give up anything for DeAndre Hopkins, so they get an A. Atlanta Falcons, with what little cap they had, I'm going to give them a B+. Todd Gurley deal is very affordable, and Ito Smith they also used to split carries with Devonta Freeman last year, so I really like that contract. Hayden Hurst, they did give up a little too much for my liking for a guy that's been buried on their depth chart basically, but you know, he was still a first round pick, so I do like them replacing Hunter Henry without paying too much for a guy. Not Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper without paying too much for a guy. Dante Fowler deal, that is very affordable for an edge rusher, and Tyler Davison, that's also a very affordable deal for a D tackle. For the Baltimore Ravens, I'm probably going to give them a B+ too. Getting that tender on Matt Skura was huge. Matt Judon, I'm going to wait and see what they do with him, because we don't know if they're going to keep him around or if he's going to be a tag and trade candidate. They got Calais Campbell for a 5th and then extended him, so that's great. And Michael Brockers. Michael Brockers and Calais Campbell are both up there in age, but they're in a win now mode, so it's very good moves. Buffalo Bills, they are an interesting team. They brought in Sean McDermott, familiarity with Addison, Brendan Butler, and Josh Norman. I'm pretty sure Josh Norman was there when he was still part of that Panthers team. I'm going to give them a B. They got business done. They went out and got a receiver, and even though they gave up a lot, I think Diggs still has like 4 years left on his contract. That Quentin Jefferson's deal is very nice. Bringing back Quentin Spain is huge. And then just, they did overpay, in my opinion, for Mario Addison and Vernon Butler, but Sean McDermott will know what to do with those guys. So, yeah. Carolina Panthers, a D. It doesn't seem like Carolina Panthers really have much in place. I mean, why would you trade a younger, better guard that still has a couple years left on his contract for an aging veteran like Russell Okung? Blows my mind. Then you're just bringing in 1-2 year deals. So, and then you sign Teddy Bridgewater when you still have Cam Newton. So now that's going to hurt Cam Newton's trade value, and you should have done that before you even did that. So, yep, I'm going to give them a D. Chicago Bears, another team with very limited cap, and I'm going to give them a C-. Nick Foles, giving up a 4th is a lot because they're taking on all that cap, and they're already a team that doesn't have much cap as is. Jimmy Graham, that's a horrible contract. You're paying 2 tight ends that aren't that good, $8 million a year apiece. I do not like that whatsoever. Robert Quinn, though, for an aging guy, 5-year, $70 million, I do like that. They need someone opposite of Khalil Mack. The Danny Trevathan deal also isn't that bad. And seeing that Kwiatkowski only went for $1 million less, I do like that deal. Cincinnati Bengals, they got the job done in free agency. I'm going to give them a solid B. I wish they would have re-signed AJ Green, but placing that franchise tag isn't horrible. it still gives him a chance to go out there and see if he still has it and see if he's still that player. DJ Reader, you're paying a top tier defensive tackle with that money, but I still like the move. Trey Way's got a little overpaid, especially looking at Mackenzie Alexander's money, but you know what? They brought in 2 Vikings guys and helping out that secondary, so I do like the moves they made. Cleveland Browns, I'm just going to give them an A straight up. They spent a lot of money, and there's honestly not one move that I see that was bad. Andrew Billings on a 1 year, that's phenomenal. Jack Conklin protecting Baker. BJ Goodson, I'd say he's about average, even a little above. He's better than what most people think. Austin Hooper deserves that contract. Some might say he's overpriced, and that's where they're investing their money, even though they have it David Njoku. But, I mean, if you can get something out of Njoku, that's great. Bring back Kareem Hunt to help out. Adding a fullback for only a 7th-round pick for next year, that's huge. Kevin Johnson on the 1 year cheap deal, I like it. Carl Joseph, I like it. Case Keenum to be a mentor, I like it. And the Andrew Sendejo, so, yeah, Cleveland Browns get my first A. Dallas Cowboys made a lot of good moves, made a lot of questionable moves. I'm going to give them a B. I like the Amari Cooper. The HaHa Clinton Dix deal is not horrible. I like bringing back Sean Lee. I like the Gerald McCoy. And I like tagging Dak Prescott. And I like the Joe Looney. Not a huge fan of Blake Jarwin, but it's not that bad because the guaranteed is a lot less. But they did pay him top 5 tight end money. And Anthony Brown, that's a little pricey for my liking too, for the production he's had, but he's not bad. So overall, they got the job done. You know, I'm going to boost that B to actually a B+. That Cowboys, they did their job. Denver Broncos, giving them an A. Oh, I might. If it wasn't for Graham Glasgow getting 11 mil, I might have gave them an A+. For some reason, they like using 2-headed running backs, like a 2-headed backfield, and that Melvin Gordon contract is phenomenal. He turned down more money to play against the Chargers twice. Justin Simmons getting him tagged. He's probably going to get re-signed hopefully before the season starts. Jarrell Casey only for a 7th. That's insane. And AJ Bouye for a 4th. That's also very good value. So, yeah. Hey. Detroit Lions. I'm going to give them a B+. I really like a lot of their moves that they made. They did bring in familiarity for Matt Patricia with Jamie Collins, Duron Harmon, and Danny Shelton. That Danny Shelton deal is very good. I really like that Jaron Curse and Miles Killebrew signing and re-signing. The Jamie Collins one isn't bad. It shows that we're putting an emphasis on pass coverage, especially with the cut of Devon Kennard. I like Chase Daniels as our backup, and a lot of his guaranteed money is in his first year of that 3-year deal, and the Nick Williams deal is very underrated. And 2 deals I haven't talked about, Desmond Trufant. We did sign Trufant. He's only making $10.5 million a year, whereas Slay is now making $17.5 million. So I really like that move. I'm happy we got Slay off the books, and he did go to another team I do enjoy, which is the Eagles. So at the end of the day, it all worked out, and Big V, Vitae, all his guaranteed money's in the first 2 years, so if he doesn't pan out, it's not like we're going to lose much when we cut him after the first 2 years. So I'm going to give them a B+. Green Bay Packers, very limited cap. I'm going to give them a B-. I mean, they didn't address the tight end spot after cutting Jimmy Graham. They have Jay Sternberger, which I think that's why they brought back Mercedes Lewis, was 1 to block, and 2 to help Sternberger develop, or if they draft a guy this year. Christian Kirksey, injury, but, I mean, pairing him up with Preston Smith, or Preston It's either Preston. I think it's Preston Smith or Preston. I'm going with Preston Smith and Za'Darius Smith. Yep, that's the Smiths. Okay. So yeah, pairing him with Kirksey, that's phenomenal. That'll help him out. And Rick Wagner did go a lot cheaper to them than Brian Beluga did sign, like $4.5 million per year cheaper. So I do like the moves. It's just they still have a few more holes that they need to address, and I think they'll do that predominantly in the draft. Houston Texans made a lot of moves. Am I happy with them? Did they get better? That's where I'm just going to give them a C-. They paid a lot of money. They gave up the number one receiver, and I'm not necessarily happy with the moves they did. Bill O'Brien taking over as the GM might have not panned out. I mean, I do like the Darren Fells move. I want to see that Vernon Hargraves contract. And I like Fairbairn. That is a lot of money for a kicker, but I mean, it's not the worst I've seen. It's just David Johnson and a second and a fourth. You lost a lot, and you didn't really get anything. I mean, you got in David Johnson, a second and a fourth, but in all reality, you traded Hopkins for a second and David Johnson. That's not what I like to see. Bradley Roby, that's also very expensive. Indianapolis, straight up giving them an A. They brought in offensive linemen to help protect Phillip Rivers because he has not had an offensive line. They re-signed Canzano, who's going to probably finish his career there, and DeForest Buckner only for a first-round pick, and extended him right away. I feel like they still have a couple moves up their sleeve that they could make, so I'm giving them an A. Jacksonville Jaguars, very cap casualty team, did a lot though with it. I'm going to give them a B+. Of course, you didn't get as much value as you would have liked for your players, but you got draft picks. You are rebuilding. You're probably going to get more draft picks for Ngakoue. Did bring in Joe Schobert for a long-term deal. And Darqueze Dennard, that's a very affordable 3-year deal, so I really like their moves. Kansas City, they did what they had to do. A. No, I'm not going to give them A. I'm going to give them B+, just because they didn't really do anything. They just brought back players that they needed to do because the team is very close to the cap and they need to extend Patrick Mahomes. But, I mean, they kept a good group of their players intact, and if they do end up trading Chris Jones, I better see at least one first-round pick in there and possibly a player or another high draft pick, because if you give Chris Jones up for a first and that's really about it, that's going to hurt your team a lot. Vegas Raiders, they made a lot more moves than what's showing here. I'm going to give them a B+. I do like what the Vegas Raiders did. Like I said, want to see Marcus Mariota's contract, but bringing in linebackers like Corey Littleton and Nick Kwiatkowski, that's great. Bringing in a veteran and Jeff Heath and Jason Witten to kind of be... Jason Witten's going to be that mentor to Darren Waller and Foster Moreau. I really like that. The only one I have a question mark next to is the Carl Nassib, but John Gruden will know what to do with him, and I do like the Eli Apple deal, so I'm going to give them a B+. The LA Chargers, I'm going to give them an A straight up. I mean, you brought in a younger talent to protect the quarterback of the future. Wait, I hope I didn't say A+. I meant just a regular A, because there's one thing holding me out of that A+, and I'll describe that later. Hunter Henry on that franchise tag, it's a little bit much money, but I mean, you did the best thing at hand, not extending him or not letting him hit the market. He's a very good player, but he gets injured a lot, so you just got to wait and see what he does this year. Linval Joseph, I love that move. Chris Harris, love that move. Bringing back Eckler over Melvin Gordon, huge fan, and bringing in Brian Beluga to replace, what was his name? Russell Okung. I really like that. Only problem, why they're not an A+, they want to stick with Tyrod Taylor. Now, if you feel like you have a system to work around that, great, go for it. But I still think they take a guy at 7 or trade up. The LA Rams. I can't remember what I gave the Texans. I probably gave them a C- or D. I'm going to give the Rams a D-. They didn't do anything to help themselves. They got rid of a lot of players, and you extend Austin Blythe for 1 year. That's probably your best move. The Leonard Floyd, having him opposite of Aaron Donald, hoping to see if he gets production, maybe, but you lost Dante Fowler and a couple other guys that you gave up draft picks for. I mean, I don't like the move. He's a run stopper. Ashawn Robinson, that's a lot of money for a D tackle who hasn't really done much. And Andrew Whitworth contemplated retirement after this season, and you gave him a 3-year deal. So, I don't like it. Miami. I'm going to give them a B. They spent a lot of money, but they did fix a lot of holes. Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, if he can stay out of trouble and is not charged for his battery, that could be the best cornerbacks right now in the league. I do like the Kyle Van Noy, Ted Karras, Jordan Howard, and Colbert deals. The questioning ones are the Flowers, Agba, and Shaq Lawson. Of course, I like the fits here in Miami, and they filled needs that needed to be addressed. The only question to me is, did they overpay? Flowers has had 1 good year. Shaq Lawson and Emmanuel Agba, they're average. And you're paying them a lot of money, but life goes on. It's Miami. I know. What is their coach? I can't remember their new head coach's name, but he'll do the right thing with that defense. Minnesota Vikings. The moves they did with what little money. Depends on what they do with Anthony Harris here. I'm going to give him a B right now. If they do trade Anthony Harris, and if they get anything less than a first, then it's going to lower my grade. But if they get a first in return for Anthony Harris, then I'm okay with that. I really like the Michael Pierce deal. Rashad Hill, I do like that deal. And CJ Ham. But yeah, that's really about it. They still have a lot of holes that they need to address. New England, they're going to give my second probably D2. Of course, we know what Bill Belichick will do with Bo Allen, Damiere Byrd, Adrian Phillips. He'll rejuvenate their career, and they're signing like affordable deals, and then they'll go out and hit the open market, and they'll get overpaid and all this and that. Devin McCourty, I do like that deal. Joe Tooney, but you just lost too much. You haven't really. Damiere Byrd is not your answer. He's not going to be a starting caliber wide receiver. And you missed out on Emmanuel Sanders. You don't have a quarterback in place. You don't have any pass catchers. And you just let a lot of people go. Not looking good, New England. And I'm happy about that. New Orleans Saints did the dang thing. Got both their quarterbacks back. I just really hope Taysom Hill signs that tender. They brought back Malcolm Jenkins on a very affordable deal. They re-signed Animati for a lot of money, but that's alright. And along with Andrews Pete, and they brought in Emmanuel Sanders late last night, so that was a addition they made before my first recording. I'm going to give them an overall of a B. Andrews Pete was their weakest spot on the offensive line, and they paid him a lot of money, but keep the guys intact. I do like that idea. The Giants. Giants are a tough team. I'm going to give them a C. Did they get better? Yes. Did they spend a lot of money? Very much so. Leonard Williams, that's too much money. I mean, I know you traded a lot for the guy, but you should have extended him right then and there instead of letting him get tagged. Blake Martinez, a lot of money. People either like him or dislike him. I think he's just average. Let's see, Kyler Fackrell. I do like that move though. James Bradbury, go him. He deserved to get paid, and I honestly thought he was going to try to reset his value. I thought he was going to try to get a 1 or a 2 year and then try to hit the market again, but he got paid at the end of the day, so I like it, but they just spent a lot of money, and I feel like there's areas where they need to get better, especially on the offensive line, which I feel like they'll address in the draft. New York Jets obviously found their weakness. I mean, 4 of their 5 signings are offensive linemen, which makes me think they won't go offensive linemen with their pick, and I feel like Robbie Anderson could come back to that team, but I also feel like they're going to take one of those top receivers, whether it be CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, with their first-round pick. So I'm going to give them a B. They obviously knew what their biggest need was. Bringing back Ryan Poole was a great deal, but they did pay a lot of money to Alex Lewis and George Fant. The McGorvin deal is a very good one, though. So they figured out their biggest weaknesses and went with it. Philadelphia Eagles, B+. There's no bias here. Actually, I'm going to lower it to a B, because every time I look at the Javon Hargrave deal, I'm like, this is great, this is a phenomenal, and then I think, man, they just paid Malik Jackson last year. Man, they still have Fletcher Cox, that defensive line, and they just keep adding bodies to it, so it's great, but they finally got their cornerback too, which I really like. Darius Slay went to the best case scenario, and he'll reunite with the former Lions offensive coach, head coach, who I can't remember right now. Bringing back Jalen Mills, moving him to safety, and bringing in Rodney McLeod was great, and they didn't have to overpay for Malcolm Jenkins. Pittsburgh Steelers, B+. Very limited cap, but you know what? They brought in Eric Ebron. Derek Watt is now with his brother. Chris Wormley is a very affordable deal, and Steven Wisniewski is a very affordable deal. I also like them tagging Bud Dupree rather than extending him or letting him hit the market. The Pittsburgh dealers did what they needed to do, and I feel like they're only going to get better as the draft continues. San Francisco, I'm going to give them a straight up B. They re-signed everyone they needed with very little cap, and they got an extra first-round pick. I'm interested in see what they're going to do with those 2 first-rounders. I feel like they'll trade back with one of them, though. Like the 31st pick, they'll trade out of the first round with that. Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to give them a C. Seattle, you didn't get any better. I hate to say it, but Finney Cedric Ogbuai, I think is how you pronounce it. Those are going to be guys that could start on this team because it's horrible. Their offensive line is horrendous. Jacob Hollister, Greg Olsen, I also heard you're looking at Jordan Reed. That's tough to hear that you're just bringing in old guys and then hoping that Hollister can keep the same production. The only signing I really like is the Jaron Reed. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, A. I feel like they still have enough money to bring in a couple guys, but you brought in Tom Brady and you said we're going to protect him and sign a very affordable 1-year deal with Joe Hag. And Tom Brady's contract is beautiful. It gives him bonuses and incentives and stuff, but it's cheap. It's a very cheap deal. Shaq Barrett giving him that 1-year tag instead of paying him right again. Let's see if he has the same production. I do not think he will have 19.5 sacks again, but I feel like his production in that defense will not drop and they'll extend him. And Jason Pierre-Paul, that is a very nice deal for him, and I was happy to see what he could do in that Tampa defense. We're on the last 2 teams. Tennessee Titans, I'm going to give them a B. It's growing on me that they brought in Dennis Kelly. I originally hated it, but then I think about it, and that is actually a very fair deal with not a lot of guaranteed money into that guy. I mean, he's 30, but he's still going to protect Ryan Tannehill, who you just extended long term. I wish they would have extended. That's tough to say because Derrick Henry, putting him on the tag instead of extending him, I think Derrick Henry, I don't think Derrick Henry's a guy that will sit out because of that, but I think Derrick Henry's not going to slow down, and he'll probably sign like a 3 or 4 year deal worth a couple million too, probably 12 to 14 million a year. Ryan Tannehill, that is a very expensive contract, but life goes on, and he worked very well for them, and I can't wait to see what else he can continue to do. And then that Vic Beasley deal, that is very nice. You had to trade away Jarrell Casey because of the cap, but then you bring in a 1 year prove-it deal for Beasley. I do like that move. Last team, Washington Redskins, under new coach Ron Rivera, a B. Kendall Fuller is a great bring back for them. Brandon Sheriff and Wes Schweitzer, those are great deals to help protect the quarterback of the future, whether it happens to be a Cam Newton or if it continues to be a Haskins. Like the Sean Davis deal, Thomas Davis reunites with Rivera. The McKissick is a very affordable deal. But like I said, I know the audio isn't the greatest in this, so I apologize, but that was another announcement I forgot to make at the beginning, is I hope to have a new audio. I knew basically where I'm set up is in my basement, so that's why you hear like the rafters and everything vibrating around me in the audio. But I'm hoping to have a new mic, a new editing thing, whether it continues to be Filmora or if it's a different one. And I'm also getting help from a couple of my buddies with editing and tips and stuff, so I thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will have more consistent uploads in the future. Continue booling, playing out.